Hi, it's Dawn from Dawn's Dirt. Dirt can mean gardening, dirt can mean farming, dirt can mean agriculture, cows, chickens, anything you want it to be. It can mean politics and religion. And so I'm really excited to be on today's episode. I've got two young men. They are very young, and they are very young entrepreneurial farmers on the show today. I first met these young men at a farm store that I worked at this summer, and I was just fascinated with how go-getter, entrepreneurial farmer, it's in their blood they are. And so I just said, man, I want these two young men on my podcast. So welcome to the show, Ruben and Matt. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be on here, and I'm excited for the rest of the podcast.
Really love that you're here. My first question is, how old are each of you? So maybe we'll start with Ruben. How old are you, young man?
I'm 20 years old.
Okay, just young. And how about you, Matt?
I'm 20. We actually were in the same class. We graduated in Olds the same year, me and Ruben. So
okay, so you're both 20, and were you raised on farms?
Yeah, grew up on a farm my whole life. It's kind of just, been my whole life, and I wanted to keep being my whole life.
What kind of farm were you on, Ruben?
We were doing a lot of hay, and we've kind of pivoted and switched to grain. Just, I don't know, just the way things have worked out with land and everything, we've kind of moved towards the grain there. So, and we have some cows on the side as well.
Okay, so kind of a mixed farm. And how about yourself, Matt? What kind of farm? Were you raised on a farm? What's your farming experience?
Yeah, I was raised on a farm ever since I can remember. We were dairy farmers at the start, but that was, I don't know, we liked it when we were in it, but with all the quota and the instability of all that, we moved away from that, and now we're grain farmers and beef farmers just west of Olds, yeah.
Okay. I love it. So you guys were born farmers, raised in farm households, and now you are just coming into adulthood, becoming men, and want to become farmers yourself. So let's talk about land prices. So with land prices, it's really expensive to get into farming. So how are you navigating that? Where are you at with that? So we'll start with Ruben.
Well, we kind of just rent land. That's kind of what you have to do, is just rent from people who buy in the land there. But even then, it's a tough game to be in, because everyone's kind of fighting each other for the land. There's only a limited amount of land, and then buying it, you just have to have the capital, or it's just so hard to justify buying land right now.
Yeah. So Matt, how are you swinging this? Like, are you guys in business together, or what's your situation? What's your deal here?
Well, I haven't really bought any land yet. Like we said, it's practically almost impossible. So I just rent land. Me and Ruben, we rent some pasture together. But it's almost impossible to be into. But I think it's always been hard to buy land for the past 20 years. There's definitely ways to do it. Off-farm income's basically the only way to do it, which is sad. Sad to see that a quarter for itself or land for itself won't pay for itself anymore. You almost have to.
Yeah, and that is so true. You see it in agriculture everywhere. It seems like in our agriculture industry right now, you have to get bigger. I owned a big greenhouse, and I didn't actually get big. At 36,000 square feet, I was not a big greenhouse. I was not a big farm. And so you have to get bigger in order to make it all pencil out and make it work to get into the bigger system. And so what sets you guys apart? So you're renting land, you're just getting into it, but what sets you guys apart? How do you see making it in this whole world of agriculture? What's your goals and what's your plan?
I'll go first.
Currently kind of dabbling with the meat, trying to sell some beef and stuff with my cows. So kind of just keeping steers back and then backgrounding them and then raising them to sell for beef. That it makes a lot more money. It's just a lot more work, but it does make the money, I think. So there's that, and then just pick up land on the side just to grow the farm as well. So
okay, and how about you, Matt?
I agree with Ruben, but what I really think sets us apart from other people is that we're trying. Most people, they feel hopeless. They won't even try anymore. And I just think if everyone stops trying, the big corporation farms and the bigger farms will get even further ahead. So that's really the main thing, sticking to it. There's always a way. So I think there's always a way to get something done. So just sticking to it, I guess.
Do you remember the toilet paper wars of 2020? Are you worried about being prepared in an emergency? Are you tired of being a slave to the corporations we purchase from? It's time to take control. Become ungovernable. Take your food system into your own hands. Hi, I'm Dawn, a coach dedicated to helping you live like grandma used to. Self-reliant, resourceful, and prepared. Whether it's raising chickens, growing a garden, canning your own food, or even milking a cow, I'll teach you how to thrive and survive in the space you have, big or small. We can even potentially make some money off your homestead. Visit Dawn's Dirt today to book your free jumpstart call. Together, as a team, we can get you self-reliant and ungovernable. We, the people, have the power to take back control. Remember, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Let's build a better future and a community, one skill set at a time. Absolutely. Yeah, tenacity. That's how I stayed. I mean, I'm a girl. And I bought my ex-husband out of the farm and I farmed for a number of years on my own. And that's what it is in farming. It's tenacity and tenaciousness and, that hardworking ethic and, that don't give up. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make this work. That's what it takes to be a farmer. And I'm so enamored by you guys because you're young, you're entrepreneurial, and you're going to do whatever it takes to do this. And so you are farming. Matt, Ruben alluded to what he was doing on his farm. Is there something that you're doing differently on your side of the farm?
I'd say I'm more conventional. He does, he's self-marketing beef. I'm trying to rent more land, but it's so hard. It's a cutthroat business to be in, to rent land. And I'm seeing that more and more. Like he said, there's only so much land around, so everyone's fighting for it. There's big investors buying land, which is too bad. But yeah, just in general, I do it more with quantity, I guess. I'm trying to rent lots of land, but I don't know. We'll see if it works out, I guess. Hopefully.
For sure. And there's both ways of doing it. And so I've seen farms get work because they're doing it your way, Matt, where they're getting bigger and they're trying to get more land and more space to be able to do it. And I've also seen it work with Ruben's method where you niche into direct marketing and into direct sales and things like that. So both are very valid and both systems work. Yeah, it's just which way are you going to do it? One thing that we had talked about when we were off camera in one of our conversations before was the fact that older farmers kind of are taking you guys under their wing and they let you rent from them. And they're excited to see their land go to a young farmer. So can you tell me about the relationship between older generation farmers and yourself? And maybe we'll start with Matt this time.
Well, yeah, that's definitely, I think, the best way to do it now. And you're right. Lots of old guys, they want to still be on the farm while seeing a young guy do what they did and helping along with it. So I do rent from an older guy. And you can just tell that whenever I'm in the field, he likes to come in the field too and see what we're doing. And yeah, a lot of older guys do want to rent to a young guy more than the corporations. But even so, it's hard. There's lots of corporations who pay big money. There's a big farm around Olds, Bar Egg. They pay big money for rental land, and it's hard. Some old guys still rather go for the money, and it's too bad. But that's
So I'm just so proud of you for even trying. And Ruben, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Usually they're the guys who have land that they're getting old, they want to get out of it. If you can find that guy who has a couple quarters and you can be like, hey, I'll take it on and do a good job, that's the easiest way, I think, because yeah, nowadays you got some younger guys who will just take everything or you got these big farms like Bar Ag and all those guys who are also taking all the land. So you kind of have to find the right people and yeah, go for land that way. It's the easiest, I think.
Yeah, and niche it down, really, and do it in a different way. Matt, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's not only the easiest way, it's also the best way because you're continuing on that legacy of that old farmer. And I think that's very valuable. So I think it's the best way. It's the easiest and the best way to do it.
Yeah. And, that's truth to that because when it comes to farming and agriculture, I know when I sold my farm, I really felt like my arm was being ripped off because when I sold my farm, I actually bought a ball cap that it said it's in your blood. And it's truthful. When you're a farmer, it's just who you are as a person in some ways. It's your whole identity and it's who you are. And so as you have these older generational farmers retire out, and then we've got young guys coming in, I can see how they'd rather rent or work with a younger generation to just keep the legacy going and to keep the more farmers in agriculture. And again, I can't sing your guys' praises enough, because I'm so proud of you for just taking on the big system, bucking the trend and just going out and doing it, and you'll figure out a way. And I have, because of your tenacity, I have such faith that you will just shine and you will both be farmers. Yeah, I'll never forget when you came into the store that day and we started talking, I have just been enamored. And then I realized that, man, my children and you are friends with my children, and there's lots of connections that way. And so, yeah, just totally thrilled with what you're doing.
No, not really. I mean, I'm glad I think there's a lot of support out there for young farmers, and that's really nice. Everyone likes seeing a young guy go into a farming store or renting land, and that's really nice. That's support means everything, and I think a lot of farmers who did start out young would say the same thing.
Absolutely. Now, I do have a question for you that I just thought of. Do you both have off-farm jobs? What's your current working situation? Do you work off-farm to support your farm? How many hours a week do you work? How many hours a week this summer did you work? Let me ask about your work ethic. We'll start with Ruben.
I have done in the past. I'm not currently, because I'm in school right now for at Old College there. But I have worked for the Old College farm. I've worked for other farmers a lot as well, just to help make an extra buck, as well as just there's not enough to do at home sometimes. So, yeah.
So you've worked on the side to make your farm go. And as you continue on farming, Ruben, would you just, this is my farming job, and then would you watch video games or play video games and watch TV at night? Or would you just be out there go-gaying and hustling and doing whatever it takes to make your farm go?
Yeah, I think the plan right now is to I'll finish my schooling and then hopefully find a job, I don't know, it's like lending companies or something, almost like a white collar job, I guess, just to support the farm and then work in the evenings, because that's honestly the only way you can pay for it. It's so expensive. The farm needs to be paying for itself, and for you to live, you need to be doing another job to pay for that. So,
yeah, and I think that's really important for our listeners to hear, that you are 20 years old and you are going to work a white collar job or another job to support your farming habits. And the fact that you're 20 years old and ready and willing to work as hard as it takes to make your farm go, kudos to you. There's so many young men in society right now that are not willing to do that. And so absolutely kudos to you. Now, how about you, Matt? What's your plan? What's your ultimate goal? Are you working? Are you not working? And how are you going to make your farm go?
Yeah, like Ruben said, throughout the summers and the fall, if we had a slow time, I'd go work for different farmers and put some hours in there and learn from them. But then in the winters, it's basically, I usually get a job somewhere in the winter. I worked for a mechanic for 1 year, and then I'm looking to go on the oil rigs till spring, till seeding here. So yeah, definitely you need the money. You need to work as hard as you can during the off season to get ahead, I guess. Yeah. That's the best.
Yeah, I love it. And so what you're doing, Matt, is you are going to work in the oil patch up north, and you're not taking that money to put it in your own pocket and to go, out on the town and do crazy things like that. Where are you going to spend your money when you make your money?
The dream's to buy a quarter, but
exactly.
That's my hope. I want to buy a quarter section of land, hopefully sooner than later. But that's definitely not for personal use. I don't want to be buying trucks or anything like that. I don't mind going through times of buying crappy vehicles, right? So I think that's
So what I'm hearing you say, Matt, is you would rather drive a ship box and work really hard up north to buy a farm than work really hard up north to buy a truck. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Well, and you know what? I can tell you right now, I'm 44 years old. And with my life experience, I'm actually driving a shipbox vehicle right now, because a vehicle is not an asset. Land and a farm is an asset. So you are light years. You both are light years ahead of, most young men your age. And so kudos to you for sure. You guys are both going to go places.
Thank you. Hopefully.
I'm just sharing my opinions here, you know? Yeah. Okay, so Ruben, I've got some more questions for you. So you are direct marketing your beef. So what does that look like to you? How are you doing that? And what are you doing to direct market your beef?
So currently just kind of started, me and Matt here, we bought some, some grasser steers, back in June. Just kind of to start playing with it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep them, try and self-market them, because honestly, when you try and sell them back to the auction, you make a few $100. Like, so I was trying to make a bit more off of them because we did put a lot of work into them. So I started by going around asking people, hey, I got beef for sale. And I was like, I'll do all the work. You just pay me. I'll bring the beef right to you. I'll give you whatever price, and which is comparable to the supermarkets. And honestly, other than like family, a lot of people said no. It was kind of frustrating. It's like, I'm giving you a better product, and I still have 2 out of the 4 steers because I wasn't able to sell them, and I'm trying to work on selling them right away here. And yeah, it's just hard to, I don't know, people just don't get it. I get it's a lot of money because it's all at once, because it's a 250 pound beef, 500 pound beef for half or whole there. But yeah, it's just like, oh, I can't afford it. It's like, but you're going to the grocery store and buying meat for the same price, if not more. And it's costing, like, it works out. It's cheaper to buy my beef than it is to go to the store, is how I'm putting it. So, but people just said no, because it's a lot of money, as in they see the big price tag, not the little price tag. So,
okay,
if that makes sense.
Right there. Yeah, it totally makes sense to me. So let's tic-tac-tician some of this math out. Let's make this math work. So let's take a whole animal. So if you were to buy do you have the math numbers? So if you were to buy that whole animal pieced out, so you're buying your steaks, your roasts, your hamburger, all of the above, how does that math work? What would you pay in a grocery store if you were to buy a whole animal?
Whole animal, I don't have the exact math, but just based off, I know ground beef is selling in the supermarkets right now for about $9 to $11 a pound. And I'm asking around that 10, 11 pounds for the whole animal. Doesn't matter what the cut is, it's the whole animal. So if you add what steaks are worth, which is like $20, and you start adding it up, it'll be 8, 9, 10 grand for a whole animal. Whereas I'm about half of that. So
plus the cut and wrap. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is if you were to buy your whole animal in the store, out of a supermarket, like out of a grocery store, it would cost you over the course of the year about $10,000.
Yeah, maybe a little less, but
okay, we're just doing rough math here, but it does make sense because the math does math. And then, but if we buy directly from you, so let's say I gave you $5,000 tomorrow for one of your steers, and then I'd probably have to pay for the cut and wrap and the butcher and things like that. So that would add a little bit of money to it. But I would save almost $5,000 roughly, but several $1,000s anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And even then I include the cut and wrap. So I cover that as my cost to give them a bit better deal. So it's roughly 5,000 to 6,000 for an animal. That's including cut wrap, and I bring it right to you. You don't have to, they don't have to do anything. They just get the beef and pay me. So.
Wow. Okay, and so that's the thing. Wow, I want to buy some beef from you. I just have some questions. So Ruben and Matt, you are in it together, doing the beef together. These 2 steers that you have to sell.
It's more my thing. I've kind of covered that. But he had some steers as well, but he sold them back to the auction.
So Matt, you sold your steers back to the auction market instead of trying to sell them to customers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's making the big bucks. I'm not.
So, honestly, Matt, you probably had different farm bills that you had to pay for. And so you're making choices for your farm. And every farmer does what they need to do to make the farm go, right? And so just because you had to make different choices doesn't mean that Ruben's choice is better than your choice or your choice is better than Ruben's choice. They're all choices, and they all have to happen because you're just doing what you got to do for your farm. Yeah. So Okay, so if we've got listeners here that want to buy beef, reach out to me and we'll get you in touch with these two guys. We're here in Old Alberta, and we'll hopefully try and get some of those beef sold. Now, just back to when you have your beef. So, how did you raise your beef? So, you both raised beef this summer. What did you feed them, and what did you do with them? And one for market and one direct to customer. What did you do with your beef? How did you raise them?
So they're all raised on pasture pretty much. We just put them out the pasture, get a bit of grain every once in a while, and then right now, during the winter, hay fed in the feeders, and then I gave them a bit of grain. But they're all with the cows just to kind of keep them a bit tame, make them easier to move. But like it's just grass fed. Like there's nothing special to it.
Okay, grass. So grass fed with a little bit of grain. Matt, did you do something different with your cattle?
No, not really. I did the same thing and then just sold them to the auction. They're called grassers. So it's a way to make a few $100 per head. It's risky, but sometimes it pays off.
And did it pay off for you this year? Did you make a little bit on your grassers this year?
We made a little bit of money, but not a whole lot on the grassers. Like it's usually pretty much the same every year. You make a few $100, you might profit $200 an animal or so. So that's what it was.
Okay. So Matt, let's do some math on that because I this is what people need to know. You made $200 per head, and if you had 10 head, that's $2,000. But how many hours of work do you think you put into those animals?
Well, between fencing and chasing them around and all that stuff and driving and everything, probably throughout the summer, let's see, 10 weeks, probably 2 hours of our time per week. So not too much. Like it's not too bad. It's about 20 to 40 hours overall with the fencing. Yeah. Something.
Okay, so let's take it. We'll take 30. I don't have a calculator. I gotta get a calculator.
I have one here.
About $7 an hour, roughly, if you want to work it out that way.
I do want to work it out that way because that's what I want listeners to know is that if you work that out, you made $200 a head. And you worked for 30 hours or whatever we said, the math, you said about $7 an hour.
Well,
so that's what people need to know. Pardon?
It's about $7 an hour. Yeah, that's not great, but yeah.
No, but that's the thing, Matt, is again, that's what I want the listeners to hear is that you, Matt, at 20 years old, that you work for $7 an hour to make your farm work. And that's the farmer mentality that you will do whatever it takes. And it's not about the money. You could go up north in the oil patch and make big bucks and buy your truck, but you see the bigger picture. You see the bigger goal of food and farming and agriculture, and that there's something bigger to this, and that you're willing to basically sacrifice yourself for $7 an hour to put food on other people's tables. I don't think that people really understand what it means to farm and how to get into it and things like that. So thank you for sharing that story. Any thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think we do it because we love it. Some days, that's all it is that keeps us going. I think that's for most farmers can say that we do it because we love it. There's a lot of risk in it and a lot of people in the past. I mean, even with BSE back in the day and stuff, like cattle farmers just kept on it because they love to do it. And it's definitely a way of life. There's, you make a little bit of money here and there, I guess. And there's some guys who do well. That's for sure. There's money in it, but it's hard.
And that's just it. Like, it is really hard. And I know that from being I was a vegetable farmer, right? And I had some chickens and things on the side, but that's the same thing. Like, I brought in huge dollars in a year. Like, I sold, a 7-figure number of vegetables in a year. But, my take home at the end of that year was, $5. I put $5 in my pocket. But having said that, I did have a home and I did have vehicles and, I was all right. I did just fine. But yeah, I did it because I loved it. I worked, 60 to 80 hours a week all summer just to put food on other people's tables. I actually had staff on my farm, and sometimes I would leave my farm and I'd say, I'm off to earn your paycheck, and which was truth too, right? So Ruben, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, you just gotta love it to be in this business. it's definitely a struggle. The stress that comes with it, like it's not for the weak in the sense that there's a lot of hardship that comes with it. Not even just on the money side, just like in the terms of the work, like, during harvest, we're 16 hours a day usually from when we're in the field to when we leave usually. And yeah, there's just so much that goes into it. And if you're not there because you love it, you're not going to last long, I think, because it's hard to be there every day and be like, oh, I'm only making it like $1,000 at the end of the year. Like, it's just a tough business, and you really gotta enjoy it, or you got to be making big bucks, but not many people do.
No, the big guys make the big bucks, but they have the big problems too. I was talking to a large greenhouse grower, and he was just saying, like, just take my issues that I had on my farm and times it by 10. And that was his farm. So little farm, little problems, big farm, big problems. It's just the amount of zeros on the end of that paycheck, or on the end of that dollar amount. And so that's agriculture. It's tough and it's gritty, and you have to have perseverance, and you have to have, like, really, sorry, this is a bit crude, but you got to have a big set of balls to be able to be a farmer. Like, yeah. I've seen it. Well, I've experienced it myself, and yeah, sorry, it's a bit crude, but it's the truth. Ruben, what are your goals, hopes, and dreams? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You're 20 now. Where do you see yourself at 30? Where do you see yourself at 40? What's your goals, hopes, and dreams? Where's the end game? What's your end game?
Well, the end game would be to just be farming and not have to go out to work and do that every day, and just to be able to wake up, go feed cows and do all that, go plant in the field, whatever, that's the goal. Whether that will happen, who knows? But yeah, that I would like to work towards that. It's gonna be a long road, but I think it can happen. But yeah, I just want to be farming, few thousand acres, few hundred cows, and just enjoy what I love doing, what I've loved doing since I was very little. And yeah.
For sure. Is it work to you? Like, do you feel like farming's work?
It depends on the day. I will say that there's been days where it's a bit painful. It's like, oh, this sucks. I can't wait for this day to end, go back to bed, whatever. Usually those days are when stuff goes south and things break and get frustrated. But, usually it's like I go out and I go fencing. I don't even think of the hours sometimes, when I'm working with the cows, or I'm, putting seed in the ground, whatever. Combining, I love combining. It's like, you just sit there all day, and I know I'm getting paid, but I'm just sitting there just like, oh yeah, I could do this forever. Like, I just enjoy it so much. It never gets old.
Yeah. And how about you, Matt? Where do you see yourself you're 20 years old. Where do you see yourself in 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 years? What's your goals, hopes, and dreams?
I'd love to be a big farmer, but that's if everything works out. But that's definitely that's always been my biggest dream. I'd like to be a full-time farmer and grow good crops, keep the family farm alive, and just do a good job and make the farming name proud, I guess. But yeah, that's what I would love to do. I'd love to have some cows, grain farm, put up some hay in the summer, and not have to have an off-farm job for the rest of my life. But I know some guys who did it not too long ago, who started from scratch, and I'd just love to be like them, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. And so do you learn from these guys? Do you sit with these guys that have done it and, learn from them and figure out, kind of emulate yourself after them?
Yeah, I'd say that's most of what I do. The best way to learn, I think, is from asking lots of questions from people who've done it. And I've been fortunate to have these people around me who started from next to nothing, and they built themselves a big farm or a good farm. And I love spending time with those people and asking questions and learning from them. I think, I'd say all of my knowledge has come from other farmers. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, and again, I just want to stress how young you guys are. You guys are 20 years old. Most people that are 20 are not, they don't even know what they want to do with the rest of their life. They're hardly even having part-time jobs sometimes, or they're going to school, and I don't know. They're so, you guys are 20 and you are working crazy hours and putting in so much time and effort and energy into all of this, to really make your dreams happen. 20 years old, like that's the part that, I can't get over with you guys because of how driven and tenacious you are. And so I think you're going to make it. Now, I've heard this quote, and I don't actually know the quote, but it's something along the lines of, if you surround yourself with people that you want to be like. If you were to surround yourself with people that were, again, I'll bring up the video game things, because lots of young men your age play lots of video games, and I'm not trying to diss them, but, and I'm not dissing video games. Maybe you play video games, but in your 5 minutes of free time in the end of an evening. But if you surrounded yourself with people that were just playing video games and going to the bar and doing all these things and doing, all those things, you're going to turn out like them. But you are out there. You are working for other farmers that have made it on their own. You are trying to learn. You are sitting with old farmers on the land that you rent, and you are taking in that knowledge. And so you're just living your lives so differently than a lot of society. Yeah. Again, like, I can't stress how proud I am. Like, if I was your parents, man, I'd put you up on a pedestal. Like, maybe this is just me I don't know all your faults, but like, you're doing it, and you've turned out just so kudos, honestly, to your parents who've probably raised you like this. I guess that brings up a question. Did you do chores as children? Because there is a thing with farm kids and chores. So, Ruben, we'll start with you. What was your childhood like?
Well, when we were younger, we had some sheep and stuff. So, yeah, I'd just go out, feed them, go hang out with them. And then, yeah, I started driving tractor when I was like with my dad sitting next to me when I was like 7 or something. Not necessarily getting paid at all, I just loved it so much. I was so happy to be sitting there. And then once I got like 10 years old, I started getting paid $5 an hour just to pick rocks or sit in a tractor for a few hours, just got cheap labor, it was just, and that's just how it's been, I go cut grass. Like, I just go mow the lawn because I just enjoyed running stuff so much. Like, that's just what I did. Yeah.
I love it. And you had to go pick rocks, and you had to work for free because the farm depended on it. Like, have you ever seen that meme where they're like, city kids have to roll the garbage can out to the end of the driveway, and that's their chores for the week. And whereas farm kids, the whole farm depended on it if they didn't do the work. And I know my kids, they worked on the farm. They've got good work ethics now because they worked on my farm. How about you, Matt? Were you sitting back playing video games, or what did you have to do as a child?
I definitely had a phase where I played video games, but that didn't last long. My dad never liked video games very much, so never was on them for very long. But yeah, for sure, like, if I wanted a monster truck toy or something like that, I'd have to go feed calves in the morning, give them milk and bottle feed our dairy calves, stuff like that. I think same with my sisters. I remember whenever they wanted something, you'd have to work for it and work it off for I don't know how many days. But yeah, that's always how it was. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and again, those lessons that you learned when you were children, are instilled in you at 20 years old, because now when you want a farm, you're off working hard and achieving your goals to go and get your farm. And so those lessons are paying off in spades right now. And I just know that they will continue to pay off in spades in your future. I can remember going through the grocery store with my children, and I think some of my kids are a bit younger than you, but going through the grocery store with my children, and they would ask me for candy. And I remember even when they were 2 and 3 years old, I would turn to them and say, sure, you can have some candy, but go get a job first and pay for it yourself. Then you can have the candy. If that's what you want to waste your money on, work for it and go ahead and do it. And that's the thing. Now that they're a bit older, my oldest one's going to be 18 here, and she knows that the things that she wants to do in her life, she has to work and earn the money and achieve her goals. And so I've raised her to be like that. I've raised all 3 of my children to be like that. And so, yeah, I can see how farm kids just have it different. Now, back to Ruben and Matt, really. Ruben, you were saying that you were driving a tractor at 7 years old. Matt, when did you start driving?
6. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, definitely when I was young, for sure. I don't know. I just like spending time with my dad in the tractor cab. But
Yeah.
on my own, I probably started driving when I was 12, 13 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So long before you were supposed to through the fields. And Ruben, how about you? You were driving in the tractor at 7, but when did you when's your first memory of driving a vehicle?
Depends. A quad. I do remember. I'm pretty sure I was 6 or 7, and then 7 years old with my dad next to me, and then 11 was when I got my first day on my own, and I broke the machine the first day. That wasn't a good day, but it was pretty funny because my dad just started laughing at me because he thought it was so funny, and I was like crying my eyes out, and he was just laughing because he thought it was hilarious that I broke it. It was just a stupid little job, and I messed it anyways. It was just, it was funny.
Tell me about that. I want to hear more about that. I want to hear more about how you broke the tractor.
Oh, it wasn't even the tractor. We were spreading some hay out. We have these machines called reconditioners, and they're 2 steel rollers, and then they got spinners on the back, and they spread the hay out. And there had been some ruts left behind from a guy spraying a couple years before, and I didn't know they were there, and I went too fast over them, and it broke one of the spinners off. So I drove over to him, and I'm crying because I was like, the day's ruined. And my dad just sees me, and he just starts laughing because he just thought it was the funniest thing how it happened. I'm just 11 years old, never really that much experience on my own. And yeah.
That's the thing. You were 11 years old, driving a tractor, doing this hay thing by yourself. And it's a testament to your dad, really, because that would have cost money. It would have cost time. It would have cost all those things. And you're crying as a child, and you pull up to your dad, and all your dad did was laugh, really, and make it almost like a joke. And so, yeah, wow, that's a farm kid for you. Matt, do you have any stories like that too? I want to hear your story from your childhood and what you went through.
I've never wrecked anything. I'm kidding. That's a lie.
I think liar, liar, pants on fire, Matt. I think liar, liar, pants on fire. If you're a farmer, you've wrecked something.
Yeah, I know. I've wrecked lots of stuff. But this one time, I don't know. I think as a farmer, you learn, like, being on your own, when you start driving on your own, you learn how to make good decisions. I've definitely made some bad decisions. I remember this one time I was trying to save time by leaving the tractor in gear while I was driving past the shop, and I ran into the shop to get a hammer and ran back out while the tractor was still driving to get back on the tractor with the hammer and never stop in the progress. And I just remember I came outside and it was inches away from hitting the shop. Luckily, I got in and I just steered it the other way and got out of it. But that was a close call.
That's a crazy story. And that's the thing. And that's the thing with all of it is, like, were you, either of you?
I wasn't, no.
I was for 1 year.
Yeah. 4-H, in 4-H, it's farm kids, right? And their motto is learn to do by doing. And so in 4-H, that's what you do. And so, you learn from your mistakes. Ruben, you probably wouldn't go so fast the next time, or you'd, slow it down or watch a little bit. And what a valuable lesson at 11 years old. And same thing with you, Matt, maybe put it in park, take that extra second and put it in park. Run into the shop and wreck the whole barn and the tractor and the whole farm. You could have burned down the farm that day. Yeah, so funny. So funny. I love it.
Hopefully my dad isn't watching.
But you missed. That's the thing. You did miss?
Yeah, I did, and I never told him.
You're 20 years old now. What do you, well, maybe he won't let you borrow his tractor next time.
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess too, so with your current situations, you're trying to get into farming, you're trying to do what you're doing, you're working hard, you're entrepreneurial, you're learning, you're doing so many things that other men your age aren't doing. Let's just speak to your family now. Like how being raised on the farm, what are your families like? What are your dads or your families doing to support you now? We'll start with Matt.
Well, first of all, I'm very thankful for the life that I got. Like, I just loved, I don't know, I don't think there's anything better than a farm kid's life. I've also never done anything else, but I still think that. And they support me throughout everything. Dad will come help me, and financially too, they help me to get loans and stuff to keep operating, I guess. And no, I couldn't do it without them, that's for sure. I don't think anybody can start without family. So
Yeah.
very valuable
Yeah.
to have a family.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And how about you, Ruben?
They're just, I mean, they're helping encourage me to keep at it, I guess, supporting me when I have my ideas and, and my dad's showing me a lot of the books and everything to do with the farm. So I can see the picture. I help him by suggesting ideas and then I'm also going to school for agriculture. I'm learning the financial side and, that kind of thing and learning different things at Olds College there. And just kind of using all the tools that I can with the college and then, trying to, I don't know how to put it, working with my parents, and just, getting them, they're always supported me, in everything I've done. So, yeah.
That's so important. And you actually just said something that's really important, Ruben. In farming, you have to know your numbers. In business, you have to know your numbers. And that's the thing. It's tic-tac-tician. Someone used to call me a tic-tac-tician person because I would know my numbers. I would, pencil it out and I would figure out what the costs were, what I could sell it for, and just know the numbers. Now in farming, you're high roller gambling. And so, you're young men gamblers, but it's still knowing the numbers and what it could be and what it worst case scenario and things like that. So it's knowing your numbers and knowing how to gamble, because that's what farming is gambling correctly. Do you have any thoughts on the gambling portion of farming?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big gamble, but I think it's calculated risks. That's what you got to be good at. You got to take risks and take calculated risks. I know one farmer I've worked for over the years, he's like brilliant at predicting the market and he puts a lot of time into that and he thinks everything through, but he seems to always know what's best when, and I think that's the most important part of it is knowing how to play the markets, and I guess you'll learn by doing too, that's for sure. But that's definitely the most important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruben, do you have any thoughts on the gambling portion?
I mean, you got so much going against you, there's the weather, you got your equipment to go with, and then as well as just your crop, whether it yields well, because like there's just so much going into it. There's so much risk and, to be able to take money at home at the end of the day, like it's a very hard, you got to know where to put your money, to make it work and when to spend, when to not, it's just, there's so much going on and to know your numbers and just be constantly in the computer on the spreadsheets, just figuring stuff out, that's a huge part now with making it through in this business, I think.
Because margins are so tight, because you're making $200 per cow or per head, you got to really know where that money's being spent and things like that. And you trade off time for money, but it's well worth it. Okay, so we're just coming up on an hour here. So do you have any last thoughts that you would, you're 20 years old, and I'm going to ask you, what advice would you give to a 15, 16, 17-year-old if you could go back in time? And even at 20 years old, you guys have so much wisdom to give because of the choices you're making in your life. What things would you do? What if you could go back and if you could talk to 15-year-old Ruben and 15-year-old Matt, what would you say to those young guys?
I would say the biggest thing is just keep working hard, never give up on your dreams. There's always a way. I remember this one farmer I talked to, like at the start when I first started thinking I was going to farm, everyone said, well, it's impossible nowadays, it's really hard to get into. I'd say 90% of people would say that, but then 10% of people I know would say, no, there's a way. There's always been a way, and where there's a will, there's a way. And I guess that's the truth. That's how it is. And I'm just thankful for those farmers who told me there's a way to do it. And I'd say the same thing to 15-year-old myself. I'd say, well, you know what? There's definitely a way, and I'd say that to other people too. It seems hopeless at times, but the big guys started somewhere too. So I think that's important to realize. It's never been an easy business to get into, right?
Not at all. Not at all. It takes so much grit to be a farmer, so much grit to be a farmer. How about you, Ruben? What would you say to 15-year-old Ruben?
I seen this quote once. It's by a guy who actually started out farming down in the States. He does corn, soybean. His quote was, dreams only work if you do. Just work, keep working at it. It's never too early to start. Being young, start buying cows, start looking into ways you can get into it. And even if it's just the smallest thing, selling small squares, whatever, like you just got to work at it. It takes a lot of effort if you actually want to make it big in this business. And yeah, just work, work, and it'll come eventually, because if you don't work, you're not going to get anywhere. You're sitting on the couch, not doing anything, you're not going to get anywhere. And I've had my moments with that before, but it's just, you just got to keep at it. It's a daily grind. You just got to go for it. So yeah, just send it. That's what I say.
Yeah. I am so thrilled that you guys would come on my podcast, that you would talk about these things, that we can have these conversations, that we can share this with other people. And yeah, I couldn't be more proud of you two young men. I think you are going places. I think that your farms will work with the tenacity and motivation that you have. Like, yeah, your hard work will pay off. And I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with you guys and seeing what the future holds for you. And so, yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the show. And yeah, really appreciate hearing your stories and being willing to share your stories with others. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having us on. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.